Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." But what if your only why was pain? Denji didn't become a hero. He became a prisoner of his own programming. Chainsaw Man isn't a story of freedom. It's a case study in how gratitude can be weaponized. He got what he wanted: a warm bed, a full meal, a place to belong, and yet he still felt empty. Denji didn't dream of saving the world. He didn't seek justice. He didn't even seek revenge. All he ever wanted was not to die in the gutter. But when survival becomes your only goal, what happens when you finally survive? Denji is a psychological paradox. A slave who thinks he's free. He calls it freedom when he's told when to eat, where to sleep, and who to kill. But that's not freedom. That's obedience with better furniture. The world of Chainsaw Man isn't just violent, it's manipulative. And Makima is its architect. She doesn't chain Denji with fear. She chains him with comfort. Denji's leash is made of kindness. He's told he matters, that he's special, that he's loved. But each word is carefully crafted not to uplift him, but to control him. The trauma of Denji's childhood didn't just scar him. It programmed him. He didn't grow out of survival mode, he just dressed it in nicer clothes. That's the tragedy. When you've never known real love, the first hand that feeds you becomes sacred, even if it later strangles you. He doesn't question it. Why would he? His dreams were never big enough to include freedom. This is the genius of Makima's manipulation. She doesn't force loyalty. She breeds it through hope. Denji believes he's choosing her. But real choice requires contrast. Denji doesn't know any life beyond Makima. She became his worldview, his god, his meaning. When she says jump, he jumps because he's afraid the dream might end, and that's how most people live. We call it love when it's actually fear. We call it loyalty when it's actually conditioning. Denji's psychology is a mirror for millions. Reward-seeking, approval-starved, emotionally trained to serve whatever voice praises them loudest. He's not alone. He's just raw, honest. Too honest to fake rebellion, because rebellion requires identity. And Denji, he never had one. He became what others needed. A weapon, a mascot, a joke, a symbol, but never himself. And here's the horror. Even when he began to question, the system had already installed a backup plan. Power, not the concept, her. The devil, she became the second leash. A different flavor of dependency. Because when one controller fails, the system always has another ready. That's the lesson. Denji didn't break free. He broke again, but this time he smiled through it. Because if the cage feels like love, you stop looking for the door. Denji doesn't chase power. He chases permission to rest, to eat, to exist. And every time he's given something, he confuses it with being valued. That's how systems break people. Not by force, but by rewarding their compliance. Denji isn't weak. He's responsive, trained to seek praise instead of truth. Even his moments of rage are borrowed. He doesn't fight for himself. He fights because someone else said it was time. When Makima was gone, he didn't gain clarity. He lost direction. Because freedom without identity is just disorientation, and Denji has never had the space to define who he really is. He was born into debt, into desperation, into silence. So when someone finally noticed him, even as a weapon, he clung to it like salvation. That's not devotion. That's psychological starvation. Denji is the product of a society that rewards obedience with love and rebellion with loneliness, and that's why so many viewers see themselves in him. Not because they've wielded chainsaws, but because they've smiled through control. Because they've learned that good means quiet, grateful, manageable. Denji's tragedy is that his story isn't rare. It's familiar. Most people don't live freely. They live conditionally. He's not a monster. He's a mirror, a reflection of what happens when survival gets mistaken for purpose. A boy trained to kill, praised when useful, and discarded when inconvenient. And still, he calls it love. This is where Chainsaw Man becomes more than horror or action. It becomes philosophy. Denji is Socrates without the questions. A soul told not to think, only to servant. And when he finally starts asking why, who, what am I, he's punished. Because systems don't want thinking tools. They want functioning ones, and yet, somewhere deep beneath the layers of obedience and pain, there's still a boy. One who never chose this. one who deserves to. Denji was never asking for power. He was begging to be seen. And in that, he became one of the most tragic mirrors anime has ever held up to us. Not because he's broken, but because he survived in a world that only notices the obedient. This isn't just Chainsaw Man. This is all of us waiting for permission to finally live.